appears to be it, yes.
And so before seeking a seconder, I'll just open it up to councillors if there are any questions regarding the motion that Councillor Hempel is proposing. Councillor Calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm quite comfortable with Councillor Hempel's suggested amendment, but I'd also like to make an amendment.
We'll get that. You've circulated that one?
I have.
And so maybe before I come back to you, Councillor Hempel, to see if you'd be happy to accept the amendment, we'll just get that amendment from Councillor Calendar on screen.
I think, Mr. Mayor, it's an addition to the amendment. Is that correct? Yeah.
So can we put that into?
I have no problem with them.
Yeah, and so you've got no problem accepting that? Okay.
That's correct. That is what was happened.
And so before I seek a seconder, I'll open it up to councillors for any questions. I've got one question of the CEO. Mr. CEO, could you give a sense as to the work that was completed in preparing the minutes, and also noting that the minutes are prepared by council staff, your reflections on the accuracy of the minutes that have been circulated?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think a couple of key elements, and I'm happy to defer to either our Director of Corporate Services or our Manager of Governance in relation to anything further. From our perspective, the minutes that have been captured are consistent with how we've captured minutes historically. They're not intended to be a verbatim transcript of what has occurred. However, they do need to resemble the actions that have occurred at the meeting, and that's effectively what we've documented to the best of our ability. So any further questions, happy to answer, but that's effectively the process that we've gone through, with staff reviewing the footage and attempting to decipher what has occurred at that meeting.
And just to follow up, Mr. CEO, you are satisfied that the minutes are an accurate reflection of the prior council meeting?
So yes, we are.
Thank you. Councillors, any other questions before I seek a seconder? Have I got a seconder for the motion? Yeah, Councillor Calendar. Councillor Hempel, as the mover of the motion, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I don't intend to take that much time on that. I'm interested with the CEO's comments there. While some of the stuff that was in the previously circulated minutes was detailed, some parts were not. But I'm quite comfortable with what's happened, and it's more about which point of orders were called. Some point of orders in the original minutes weren't in the it didn't happen, and then some of them were left out, and that's my reflection. And pretty accurately, you know, journalist of many decades of thing, I know what transpired and what was said, so I've recorded it pretty accurately.
Councillor Calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is about getting a true and accurate reflection of the minutes documented. I can, just looking through what Councillor Hempel has drafted, I'd like to commend him for taking the time to listen to the live stream and put pen to paper and document all of this down, because I could imagine that would have been quite time consuming to do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Calder. Are there any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Marsden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I can't support this motion, mainly because I haven't had time to compare the proposed amendment against the video record. The amendments were circulated only a few minutes ago, and as a consequence, it's impossible for me to verify the accuracy of the minutes proposed. I find it extraordinary that such an amendment is put at such a late stage, and it's unhelpful, I feel, and counter to good governance practice to circulate amendments to the minutes at such a late stage. Accordingly, I'll be abstaining from the vote because I have no real way of gauging the veracity of the words included in the motion. I think we have a governance team, we have a full set of professionals looking at the video evidence, preparing minutes on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and this is the first time in almost 8 years that this has occurred. It's an extraordinary abuse of process, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Any other speakers to the motion? Councillor River.
Thank you. I won't be abstaining. I will be voting against. And I believe it's important that people vote, and I'll be voting against. I have heard the recording, I've gone through it. Actually, even went to the trouble of making a transcript for various purposes. So I support the council officers' recollection and their provision of the minutes. And if this motion fails, I would be happy to put up a motion to adopt the minutes as provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Briff. Are any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Hempel, I'll come to you to close debate as the mover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this particular issue on the night was very contentious, hotly debated. The point that I was making is that some of the points of order in the previously circulated minutes were not accurate. And as for Councillor Marsden's comments that the minutes were sent at a very late stage, that's not correct. I circulated my concerns about the minutes on Friday morning. There was plenty of time for councillors to go back and listen, and I certainly object any suggestion that this is an abusive process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? And abstentions? The motion
Division.
I'll take the vote again, noting that the division has been called. All those in favour? Councillor Hempel, Councillor Calder and Councillor Southern-Legault. All those against? Councillor Grimmer, Councillor Briffa, Councillor Tyler. And abstentions? Councillor Marsden. The motion has failed, and so I will revert to the initial motion.
So moved.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I think there were 3-3. How does that fail? I think it's tied unless you're using a casting vote.
Yeah, so the motion has failed due to my casting vote.
So you're declaring casting votes. I hope the minutes recorded it. It was a casting vote. Thank you.
In fact, I'm not sure that's right, because in order for a motion to carry, you need a majority. We had 3 in favour, 3 against, and 1 abstention. And so in that circumstance, I'm not sure I need a casting vote.
My understanding is a casting.
Give me 1 moment, I'll just seek advice. Yeah, I do want the minutes to reflect. Councillor Hempel will make sure the minutes reflect. Governance just advised that you do need a casting vote, and we'll make sure the minutes reflect that.
that you used your casting vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Hempel. I've got a mover for the initial motion, seeking a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Griffith, do you want to speak to the motion?
I'll speak to it very briefly. The minutes were provided some weeks back. I've reviewed those minutes. I have reviewed the recording. I've actually prepared a transcript. I'm very happy with the minutes as recorded by the council officers, keeping in mind that minutes aren't supposed to be seconds. They're not supposed to be a blow by blow of who said what, but they are accurate in what we have presented before us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. Councillor Grimmer.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. I have approached the officers about this. I have looked at it myself, and that's why I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Carney?
I'll obviously be voting against this for reasons which have obviously been noted already. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Briffa, I'll come to you to close debate.
I'm very happy to go to the vote.
I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Abstentions? I've had a division called, so I'll just put that to the vote again. All those in favour? Councillor Marston, Councillor Tyler, Councillor Briffa, Councillor Grimmer. All those against? Councillor Hempel, Councillor Calendar, and abstentions? Councillor Sutton-Legault. Thank you, councillors. The motion is carried. Next item, councillor questions. Councillor Calendar, I'll come to you first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a number of questions that I'll be asking tonight. First one through you. Given that we celebrated International Women's Day only a few days ago, my first question relates to a topic in support of vulnerable women, more specifically mothers and their children. The Nappy Collective is a charitable organisation solely focused on the collection and distribution of nappies to vulnerable families, which could include those experiencing extreme financial hardship, facing homelessness, escaping domestic violence, or seeking asylum. The Nappy Collective recently reached out to me seeking an opportunity for drop-off points within Hobsons Bay, areas that could include our local libraries, maternal health centres, or the Civic Centre as an example. Can Council please advise whether there has been any progress in supporting their cause?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Calendar, for the question. Yeah, I can say with a lot of pleasure that we will be joining this initiative. We believe that from a council's point of view, that being able to support people that may not be able to afford nappies and the like, having a contribution to make, being easily located within the various areas of the municipality, we provide a pretty unique central point for this charity to gain access. So yeah, we're really pleased to be part of it. Stay tuned. In the next couple of weeks, we'll know exactly what that looks like and how we will be promoting it.
Thank you. Really pleased to hear that. Look forward to seeing those promotions. Second question. There was a media release from the Premier last week which announced that as an air quality improvement initiative, sections of Ross Road in Altona North would be upgraded. The media release mentions on-road parking bays for the soccer club and that a new shared path for pedestrians and cyclists will be built to link Blenheim and Mill Street. Can you please advise when is the work planned to begin? Is Council making any financial contribution to this or inputting into the plans in any way, shape or form? And as a pedestrian bike path, it could potentially be a little bit isolated and might feel a little bit unsafe. So are you able to advise whether there'd be any street lighting included?
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Callender, for the question. The upgrade of Ross Road will include parking bays at the Mill Street end and also at the Blenheim Road end. There will be a shared trail that runs along this alignment, and that will be associated with a dividing fence with the railway line and also lighting along that alignment. Council is project managing the project. There's a contribution of $200,000 from Council towards the project, as well as some federal government funding as well. And we're looking to finalise those works, which will be starting over the coming weeks and will take approximately 3 months to complete.
Thank you again for that response. I think that's great news. Next question. Does Council offer any discounts or rebates on the desexing of dogs or cats? And if so, could you please provide some details?
Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor Callender. We have quite a comprehensive desexing program for cats. We are also pleased to announce that we will be partnering with the Lost Dogs Home in the next couple of months to run a number of events to provide free desexing for both cats and dogs to ensure that we start to move the program forward. So, sorry, let me rephrase that. We will be providing free desexing for cats and discounted desexing for dogs. So we're looking forward to helping the community move forward in this regard.
Again, thanks for that response. Once again, pleased to hear that. Next question. A recent survey by local government finance professions FinPro revealed that at least 43 councils were charging for activities that should not be included in the waste service fee. Can you please advise whether Hobsons Bay has conducted a review of its waste service fee and confirm that it is currently not overcharging residents?
Through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor Callender, for the question. Hobsons Bay City Council is not affected particularly by this guidance because we were already following largely the guidance in relation to that to start with. So for residents of Hobsons Bay, this is essentially a good news story. We won't be adversely affected, and we are releasing some social media and news updates over the next week to let people know that we won't be impacted in the same way that other municipalities might be.
Thanks again, Mr. Mayor. Some more good news. My next questions relate to Techno Park, and I understand there might be a conflict.
Yeah. So Councillor Grimmers is leaving the chamber given the previously declared conflict of interest. I'll come back to you, Councillor Callender.
So I have two questions on Techno Park. The Age reported a planning scheme change to existing land use rights, which has been hailed in the media as a lifeline for the residents of Techno Park. Can Council please advise how this change will impact the current eviction of residents at Techno Park Drive? And is Council still expecting residents to leave by May this year?
Through the Mayor, Councillor Callender, thanks for the question. We're aware of the changes made to the Victorian planning scheme regarding existing use rights that were enacted by the Planning Minister herself across the state last month in February. Council seeking to understand more information from the state government as to these impacts. We're unable to provide further commentary in relation to the second part of your question, and our Council's position remains the same, but we are seeking more information about this very recent change.
Thank you for that response. And then my final question, which somewhat follows on from that last question. Council received a petition in November requesting that Council recognise the Techno Park residential community in Council's industrial land management strategy. is there any ETA on a response?
And through the Mayor, thank you, Councillor Calendar. The 2023 petition that we received, we've acknowledged that and sponsored the governance procedure. So just want to reassure everybody that we have followed the governance processes so far. And pursuant to your previous question, because the Planning Minister has made these changes, we're still seeking more information and we'll respond to the petition as soon as our position is clear at a future council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those responses. No further questions.
Thanks, Councillor Calendar. We'll just pause for a moment while Councillor Grimmer returns. Thanks, Councillor Grimmer. I might ask, just mindful you've previously declared a conflict of interest, did you want to just put that on the record?
Yes, so I've got. Oh, sorry about that, ladies. Everybody. I've got a conflict of interest in this. I had a family member who does maintenance work at Techno Park Drive. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Grimmer. We'll resume councillor questions. Councillor Grimmer, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for this opportunity. We've had a few heat waves the last few days, and my question is, how has us opening the Hobson Bay Library branches been to the Algrade community? Any feedback?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Grove. We're really pleased to have kicked off what we call our summer heat program. It was an initiative that was discussed with Mayor Briffa, Mayor Tyler, previously Mayor Briffa, Mayor Tyler, and the council generally in respect to providing safe, cool spaces during extreme heat conditions. And we've done that by opening up a number of our libraries when we get forecasts from BOM on those events. We opened up our libraries for an additional 5 hours in the evenings on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we extended that onto Monday. We had several hundred people using the facilities where they could keep cool, have a cold drink, cup of tea, cup of coffee and some fresh fruit, and it appears the rest of the industry has followed suit, so seems like a good one.
Following up on that question, Mr. Mayor, does this look like this will be an ongoing initiative? Thank you.
Look, I think it's very much, and through you, Mr. Mayor, I think it's very much in keeping with our Council Plus strategy of finding different reasons for people to come into our assets, using the assets that they, through their rates, pay for. We pay for the air conditioning, whether there's one person in there or 250 people in there. So I think it's very well worthwhile, particularly as we go into higher heat conditions, albeit later than we thought this year.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Briffa.
Thank you. They definitely are much loved community assets. Question through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. McLeod. The council has previously had a number of community advisory groups, including groups for the multicultural, multi-faith communities, people with disabilities, women, youth, environment and sustainability, strategic urban planning, and even a group on landscaping, which I remember chairing. Anyway, can council officers provide council with an update on the review of our community advisory groups, including what groups the council will have in future, the terms of reference for each group, and when these groups are likely to commence, noting the council elections are taking place later this year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor Briffa. Sorry, I'm going to sit back a little bit. As a councillor is aware, our advisory groups were ceased quite a while ago due to COVID, and also because of I guess the challenge that we have in ensuring that the outcomes that are achieved by these groups are very purposeful, and specifically that people's contributions translate into operational outcomes. We've kicked off a number of specific interest groups over the time to work on very specific projects, and we're finding a really positive response from the community because it's something tangible that they can contribute to. I know that my colleague Rachel is in the process of a review of what those sort of specialised consultation forums will look like, and we're looking forward to coming back to council in the foreseeable future to discuss what that might be.
Look forward to that. Thank you, Mr. McLeod and Ms. Lund for your work on that. The next question through you, Mayor Tyler, is to Mr. Travaskis, and that's in relation to the Integrated Transport Plan. So, as you know, the Integrated Transport Plan was adopted, 2014 was when we went to community consultation, and 2017 is when it was adopted, with the goal of producing an integrated, innovative and equitable transport system, providing a range of sustainable, efficient, accessible and safe ways for people and goods to reach their destination. The plan, as you're very well aware, included a number of key actions and their associated timeframes for each. A lot of them to be achieved within 5 years, and I'm obviously very well aware of COVID and the impacts. But as we're now in the 7th year of the plan, can you give us an update? I don't intend on you to give us an update right now, but if we can flag perhaps an update to come to us at some time regarding the key actions of this plan, how are you tracking with those dates, etc.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Griffin, for the question. It is a timely question. The Integrated Transport Plan is from 2017 to 2030, so we're at the mid-year point of the plan, and officers have actually recently commenced a review of the actions. There has been a number of actions implemented through the LAMPS processes that have been implemented across the municipality, and also with the Better Places programs as well. Some actions, though, haven't commenced for obvious reasons, but officers, as I said, are working on a mid-term report, and then we'll be bringing those updates back through to council over the coming months.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Travaskis. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Profile. Councillor Hempel. Councillor Hudson. Councillor Sutton, go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question regarding the Mechanics Institute. I'm sorry, we have a bit of reverberation on sound.
Can you please advise whether there has been a public advisory group set up or any sort of community group in relation to the planning for the Mechanics Institute and the cottage? And secondarily, please provide an update on the signage that was to go outside the front of the building. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor Tyler, and thank you, Councillor Sutton-Legault, for the question. Officers are going through its early project planning phase with a master plan improvements for the Mechanics Institute. There is likely to be that targeted consultation with the community and community groups. The details of that have yet to be finalised, however, will be shared once drafted for councillors to review. Signage on site is nearing installation. We've got proofs prepared, so that should be going on and being installed over the coming week or two.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that question, I wasn't talking about the broader community consultation. I was referring to a smaller group, as we did with the Keeper's Cottage at the previous cottage that we restored. I just wanted to know, because there are several community members who are active in advocating, particularly around the cottage. Do we have any idea if we're going to set up any kind of formal or informal community group to advise on that?
Through you, Mayor Tyler. As I said, the details of that have yet to be worked through. However, it is understood that there are those interest groups. Council's looking to go through that targeted consultation process with those groups and that people. But those groups have shown to provide good value to these projects. So that's something that's definitely been considered by the team.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing an update on that. And just a question without notice, several community members have raised the issue of overgrown vegetation and grass around the municipality. Can we get an update on the current situation now the weather has changed? And I know there were some equipment issues in the past. Can I get an update on that, please?
Through you, Mayor Tyler, thank you, Councillor Sutton, to go for the question. Yes, the mowing regimes are getting back on track over the last week or two. However, we've actually gone the other way now due to the warm weather. The grasses start to brown off and die off in some areas. In terms of weeds and sucker growth throughout the municipality, there's a program that's in place to bring those back into a neat, tidy and respectable condition. It's noted that they were let go when all hands were put on deck to get the mowing regime back in and under control.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillors, and thank you to council officers. The next item is public question time. This public question time segment provides an opportunity for the public to ask questions related to items on the agenda of the council meeting or any other matters within council's responsibility. Questions must be put in writing and be received by 12 p.m. the day prior to the council meeting. Questions received after this time will be responded to in writing by the appropriate council officer. In accordance with subsection 13.1 of the Hobsons Bay Governance Rules, 20 minutes has been allocated for public question time, with individual responses not exceeding 2 minutes each. In accordance with Rule 13.1.14, a maximum of 3 public questions may be submitted per meeting by a member of the public. And finally, in accordance with Rule 13.1.11 of the Hobsons Bay Governance Rules, the person who submitted the question must be present in the public gallery during public question time for their question to be read out. There are a number of questions received related to Techno Park Drive, which unfortunately Council is unable to answer due to legal matters regarding this issue. First question is Kia Brewster. Hi Kia, welcome. Kia has 3 questions. The first, in Hobsons Bay City Council's Better Places Guide for Seabrook and Altona Meadows, the council identifies that, quote, the biggest and probably the most strongly supported idea from a community viewpoint was the desire to have a high school built in the local area, with this being seen as one of the most important issues and priorities for the future of the local community. Guiding Principle 2.4 in the Better Places Seabrook and Altona Meadows Guide states that Council will, and again, I quote, continue to share the community's sentiment for the delivery of a local high school and advocate with relevant elected officials to help generate attention and momentum. How is Hobsons Bay City Council planning to advocate with elected officials and generate attention and momentum for the delivery of a local high school for Altona Meadows? The council officer's response reads, the responsibility for planning and provisions of schools sits with Victorian State Government. Council regularly meets with the State Member for Point Cook, Matt Hilakari MP, to discuss a range of community priorities, including the need for a high school in Altona Meadows. The local member has been advocating for the needs of the Altona Meadows community in delivering improved access to a high school for the local community. I'd also add, Key, that as ward councillors, Councillor McGriver and I worked with Councillor Marston to write to the Minister at the time, in October 2021 on this issue, and I'll come to that response in a moment. And we've also written as a council more recently. Again, I'll share more details on that in a moment. The second question, in relation to the strong desire for a local high school in Altona Meadows, the Better Places Seabrook and Altona Meadows report states that, again, a quote, in 2021, Hobsons Bay councillors Matt Tyler and Councillor Diana Grimmer reached out to the state government to express these concerns with a request for a detailed review and response to the community for a new school to be considered. Has there been a detailed review and response to the community as requested by Councillor Tyler and Councillor Grimmer since 2021? If not, has there been any follow-up communication or advocacy from Hobsons Gate City Council that can be shared with local residents? The Council Officer's response reads, in 2021, the State Government, through the Minister for Education, James Molino, responded to Council's advocacy, stating current analysis and population forecast showed the capacity of existing schools could meet demand in the Altona Meadows area. As part of further advocacy, in September 2023, Council wrote to State Member for Point Cook, Matt Hilakari, reiterating the community's aspiration for a high school in Altona Meadows. Final question reads, in the next step section of the Better Places Seabrook and Altona Meadows report, it states that, and again I quote, the community felt that the absence of a local high school is a key public infrastructure gap and in some instances is forcing people to move away from the area. Whilst acknowledging that the planning and provision of education services is a state government responsibility, Hobsons Bay City Council has a unique role to play in harnessing public sentiment and advocating on behalf of local residents for issues that are important to them. The Council Officer's response reads, Council has shared the key themes received as part of the Better Places consultation process with the State Member for Point Cook, Matt Hilakari MP, and will continue to share relevant information with him as it becomes available in the future. I know we've joined a number of meetings with you and others on this issue, Kia, and so we look forward to seeing at least some progress, and I appreciate you raising the questions this evening. Next question comes from Kayleen O'Shea. Hi Kayleen, welcome. Kayleen's question reads, when will Hobsons Bay Council clean the Pier Street footpaths using a high pressure washer? The footpaths are stained and dirty and have not been cleaned for years. And the Council Officer's response reads, footpath sweeping and scrubbing on both sides of Pier Street within the shopping precinct occurs early each morning from Monday to Friday. Spot cleaning and pressure washing occurs where spillages occur in isolated areas, and a deep clean is scheduled to occur at the end of the upcoming summer period. The next questions come from Julie White. Hi Julie, welcome. Julie has three questions. The first, Council Officers answered in response to a question at the February 2024 Council meeting that the aquatic facilities in Hobsons Bay must comply with the Royal Life Saving Society Australia guidelines for safe pool operations and Council policies. How often are risk and safety audits conducted at Bayfit Leisure Centre? Does Council obtain copies of these audits, and what other measures does Council take to monitor performance/compliance with guidelines for safe pool operations and Council policies? The Council Officer's response reads, comprehensive safety and risk audits are conducted twice per year, facilitated by the operator's National Safety and Compliance Officer. The operator has a management system in place which includes safety checks and facility assessments completed every 4 hours. Council meets monthly with the operator of the facility to discuss a range of reporting requirements, which includes addressing outstanding actions from the safety audits and ensuring compliance with the operator's occupancy agreement. Julie's second question reads, does Council obtain data on casual visitor numbers to the swimming pools at Bayfit Leisure Centre? And if not, how does Council ensure that pool operations align with Council policies relating to aquatic recreation, health and inclusion? The Council Officer's response reads, a range of visitation data is collected and incorporated into monthly reporting to Council. Council meets monthly with the operator of the facility to discuss a range of reporting requirements, ensuring compliance with the operator's occupancy agreement. Julie's third question reads, does Council require minimum daily and/or weekly opening hours for the swimming pools at Bayfit Leisure Centre, and is this a requirement in the lease? The Council Officer's response reads, yes, minimum trading hours are specified as part of the lease agreement between Council and the operator at Bayfit Leisure Centre. The next questions are from Kristen Rowan. Hi, Kristen. Kristen's got two questions. The first, this month, workers at the South Crude Tank Farm told members of the public that they have begun the process of pulling down the tanks. This is consistent with plans shared by senior Mobil staff at a community information session in October 2023. Can Council please outline the timeline for these works as well as the safety measures in place to protect the community who use the adjacent sports ground and walking track? The Council Officer's response reads, Council understands from informal discussions with Mobil that the Altona Tank Farm tanks are currently being inspected and maintained. Public consultation was held on the future of industrial land in Hobsons Bay in 2023, and information on that consultation is on Council's website. Council has not had any notice of any changes to the future use of the land from Mobil since this consultation. Kristen's second question reads, what does Council know about the future plans for the South Crude Tank Farm site? Mobil's website says it will not be used for fuel storage. And the Council Officer's response reads, Council understands from informal discussions with Mobil that the Altona Tank Farm tanks are currently being inspected and maintained. Public consultation was held on the future of industrial land in Hobsons Bay in 2023, and again, information on that is available on Council's website. Council hasn't received any notice about changes to the future use of land from Mobil since this consultation. Thank you for your questions. That concludes public question time. And a reminder that if members of the gallery would like to ask a question that relates specifically to an item on tonight's agenda, they can complete the form available at the door and hand it to the relevant Council Officer. Their question will be addressed in supplementary public question time. Councillors, the next item is 7.1 Internal Arbitration Decision IAP 2023-20. A resolution isn't required for this item, but a brief note. Section 147 brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 2020 states that a copy of the Arbiter's decision and statement of reasons must be tabled at the next Council meeting after the Council receives a copy of the Arbiter's decision and statement of reasons recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters to be tabled? No. We'll move to the next item then, item 9.1, Chief Executive Officer's Report on Operations. Councillors, are there any questions? I'm seeking a mover.
Moved.
Moved by Councillor Marston, seconded by Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, a good read detailing the various statistics concerning council operations, which are all clearly laid out in the document. But I just wanted to pull out a couple of items of interest, I think, to highlight the opportunity that we have as a community to contribute to a review of the events and festivals plan, which is open until 24th of March. So there's still a little bit of time to get in some feedback on that. Obviously, events and festivals are really important to community building and morale after COVID, and there's a real thirst in the community and appetite for organised festivals and events. It's something that could benefit from community feedback, so I draw that to your attention, Mr. Mayor. We've advocated, I agree, I understand through your office, Mr. Mayor, to advocate to the federal government for financial investment in the Hobsons Bay Wetland Centre and under the federal government's Urban Rivers and Catchment Grant Program. And I understand that we'll find out whether our application is successful sometime in the middle of the year. That's a project that is well supported by the community and the council. I look forward and hope that we receive that money so that we can get a wriggle on with the Hobsons Bay Wetland Centre. I wanted to make my colleagues aware that the new pavilion at Dennis Reserve in Williamstown is on track and is scheduled to open in mid-April. So I go there, past there every day, and they're into the landscaping. It's looking good, and I think it's an opportunity for us as council to zhuzh up that entryway to Williamstown and perhaps modernise the signage, as well as the city signage that I know has been an issue of discussion when it comes to entering the council from the north and west, to highlight and refresh the council branding, but most of all to call out the First Nations involvement and history of the area for visitors who are approaching Hobson's Bay. But I think Dennis Reserve is really a gateway to Williamstown, which is one of the oldest cities in Melbourne, if not Australia, and to call out again the Ellicott Willems history as well, the long settlement history of the Ellicott Willem along the Williamstown Peninsula. In line with our desire to keep the foreshore clean, we've placed 90 additional bins along the foreshore and surrounding areas, including an extra 20 bins in Commonwealth Reserve. That's obviously, it sounds like overkill, but on peak days it's really important, I think, to have capacity to be able to put away the rubbish and the litter, particularly on a hot, dry weekend such as we've had with the northerly. If the rubbish is not put in the bin, then it can end up at sea with all the negative effects that that entails. And I think beachgoers, residents in general, welcome a clean foreshore. I wanted to mention also the Port Phillip Coastal Hazard Assessment, which was released by DECA in January, and it came as quite a surprise given that it was released over the holiday period, but it has profound implications with coastal management and the impacts of rising sea levels. It's mapped regionally and it needs to be mapped locally, so that means more resources, more time devoted to understanding the impacts of storm surge, coastal sea level rise, particularly in low-lying areas like Altona and Seahome, where we've already started to experience water flowing backwards in drains and emerging in residential streets as a result of the storm surge and sea level rise. And finally, I just wanted to congratulate the community and the staff on the extension of the 40km/h road zones north of Hudson's Road, which has been approved by the State Government Department of Roads and Planning. I think this is one of the few very low cost measures we can take as a council and a community to reduce road trauma. Cars going slower cause less damage when they collide with humans, and particularly small humans, and reducing the prospect of injury, making for a much more pleasant street environment, and also a place where kids can, as they always have, play cricket or basketball on the street. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Councillor Grimmer.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. No, I just want to commend and to say thank you to the CEO and the report and the council staff. This report demonstrates inclusion. It demonstrates for all ages, and it allows everyone in our great community to have access to these services. Instead of getting in the wilderness, not knowing where to go, or giving a bunch of phone numbers, but these services are in our great community. These include library gatherings that we've had over 50,000 visitors. We've got youth programs and activities, which include mental health and first aid. And we've also had sessions for young parents and guardians. These include parent support groups, they include sleeping support sessions, which I can definitely relate to, and support play group, and even referrals to family violence. I've actually had the pleasure of actually seeing a couple of the groups last week, and it was actually just amazing how much growth it's happening in our municipality, Hobson Bay. So it's great to have that connection. And also I'm very proud that Wood Street has more opportunities ever that I've seen, activities and opportunities for our local artists to showcase their craft and to show off Hobson Bay and, yes, make us look good. So bonus, which I deeply appreciate. And I'm also proud that Councillor Toller and I worked with our council staff and our council colleagues to actually get the program not just to look pretty, but actually to have operating hours on a regular basis. So I'm really proud of that, and I echo what my council colleagues said, Councillor Marsden, but also please, I'm so pleased. I'm hoping for good news for the Wetland Centre. It's a regional matter, it's a mental health matter, it's an environmental matter, and it's an all age and all ability. So let's support that. And that is all, but we have so much great stuff, and I think this is important to reflect on this, and I think we should be sharing this and we should be concentrating on this because that's what our community needs, and this is such a great report, and I'm a CEO reader and I'm one of those nerds. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ra. Any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Marsden, I'll come to you to close debate. Yep. Oh. Apologies, Pamela.
All right.
Councillor Sutton to go.
Just a couple of small comments to acknowledge International Women's Day and the various events and activities that were happening to celebrate that. Just a small mention of the Airtime Flags by Madison LaBelle, which is a temporary exhibition. And my colleagues have already referred to some of the great exhibitions and events that are happening all through the municipality. Very good to see that the council has written to the Minister for Transport seeking an urgent meeting regarding the Champions Road level crossing removal project. And I see in the media that there's some noise that some of these may be suspended or delayed, and I hope that we are one of them. And that we've concluded community initial feedback on the alcohol harm prevention policy, and that we'll be reporting back on that in due course at a future meeting. Very important area for all communities, and I'm glad that we are participating in that. Really good to see the Hob Archies that will be on display at the Civic Centre. So some fabulous painting from the Hobsons Bay Art Society, and really good to see that the Jubilee Fountain at the Botanic Gardens has finally been restored and will be working again. So some very positive actions, and of course the whole report is full of the amazing work that happens right through the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton to go. Councillor Ripper.
Thanks. Yes, I would like to speak to this awesome report, and the International Women's Day event, which of course was in March, not February, was wonderful. At the library, we do so many wonderful things at the library. Amazing panel. I'm not talking about myself, of course. I'm talking about the other awesome women that were in the panel. It was really great event. I'd like to see it more events like that celebrating women, particularly in STEAM. So yeah, it was excellent, and I'm sure you agree, Mr. Mayor. Libraries are such a wonderful space. Love what we did over the weekend with the heat wave. Great to see those community assets being used for community use rather than being closed. So that's great. Aged care has always been something that is really close to my heart, and it's great to see that in February the assessment team undertook 77 assessments and 137 support plan reviews for services required by older residents, senior residents, whatever you'd like to call them, but a wonderful prized resident. So it's great that we're doing that. And in terms of delivering meals, 1,877 meals were delivered to eligible residents in Hobsons Bay. So great to see that. Of course, I'm going to mention Midsummer. And Midsummer was awesome. Council did a whole bunch of events, and in fact there were events across the whole western suburbs supporting Midsummer and our incredible LGBTIQA plus community. So that was great to see. Great to see lots of council staff also supporting that. Mr. Mayor, what can I say? The Pride March, you joining tens of thousands of Victorians and lots of rainbows in celebration of our community, and queer photo at the substation. Amazing evening and an amazing exhibition. Hobsons Bay Art Society, people just see outside there in the foyer, they can see their amazing work. They are such a wonderful local group and do such amazing, wonderful art. So I'd love seeing us support them. Really important that over Christmas, we do those events first, Summer Sounds, the summer, the movies by the bay, all those events that our community love and come to expect of us. So it's great to see us doing that, and also brings people to Altona, to Williamstown, to other places as well. Gets them also not only connected, but using and activating those local precincts and shops. I'll also talk about Laverton Festival. How could I think the Mayor might not be happy if I didn't mention Laverton Festival. And another amazing event. It just goes from strength to strength. And if you look at the way that it's gone over the last 20 odd years, going from a car park to a beautiful reserve now, with so many local people coming and enjoying it. It's fantastic to see. And shout out to the Hobsons Bay Men's Shed as well for their classic car and bike show. The Lacrosse National Championship, I know that you loved it. They are an amazing group. I love our lacrosse group, and I love that they also love the facilities that we have at Paisley Park and at Williamstown. And they're just a great group. Always happy to support them in any way possible. Also great to see Hobsons Bay featured in Channel 9 postcards. We're letting the secret out though, but it's okay. We're letting the secret out. We can share it, and especially our beautiful foreshore, beautiful Commonwealth Reserve. Lots of local reserves that we've got that we're happy to share with visitors. I always want to mention our wonderful animal management team. And I love when I see 12 animals returned to their owners by council officers. That's a good story for me. When an animal is, I hate calling them animals, when our fur kids or per kids go missing or whatever, usually fur kids, and when they're returned to their families, I think that's really good. There you go. I don't even say owners, I say families. And of the 11 dogs impounded, 7 were released. So yeah, that's a big shout out to the wonderful animal management team that we have. I do like seeing the stuff that we do for Capital Works. Kim Reserve, and we've got former Councillor Price here. He'd probably appreciate me mentioning Kim Reserve. The works there are going great guns. Can't wait for that to be finished in the middle of the year. I'm sure lots of local people are looking forward to that being completed and being in use. It's great that the club has been accommodated elsewhere during the season, but I'm sure they're looking forward to being in their brand new digs. Interesting about Maidstone Street, and no worries, I'll just end on this one. The LXRP and looking at the removal of that crossing at Maidstone Street. So they've already flagged, I see, a road over rail. And I don't think that's going to be contentious at any stretch of the imagination. I think most people will support that. Let's just hope that the works are quick and not going to affect us too much. Thanks.
Thank you. Plenty going on. Any other speakers to the motion? Happy to put the vote.
I just wanted to thank my colleagues for fleshing out the rest of the report, because it really is worth delving into in detail. It's the one source of truth that we can show to the community on a monthly basis as to our performance and offerings, alert people to opportunities, and celebrate some of the successes, particularly the Capital Works program. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
And I didn't even mention the new toilet at Doggy Park in Altona.
I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Councillors, just with your indulgence, I just wanted to, for the record, return briefly to public question time. One of the questions on my hard copy here had been cut off, and I just want to make sure that we accurately reflect it in the minutes. And it was a question from Miss Kia Brewster, your third question. And so I'm just going to read out the bit that had been cut off. The answer remains the same, but just so that the entire question is captured. And so this is, for the benefit of council officers, an addition to where I stopped reading. The report states, quote, any of council's assessments on the level of demand or feasibility will be shared with the state government to help assist the ongoing advocacy effort. Given that a Hobsons Bay City Council Commission report published in late 2023 states that a local high school for Altona Meadows is, quote, the biggest and the most strongly supported idea from a community viewpoint, end quote, will Council show it has heard the community and allocate resources in the 24-25 budget towards assessment of the level of demand or feasibility regarding a local high school for Altona Meadows? And as I say, the answer remains the same, but I just wanted to make sure that went on the record because it was an inadvertent omission due to this being cut off. And thank you again for the question. Councillor, the next item is item 9.2.1, level crossing removals project update and specific site principles. Are there any questions?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor
Second.
Temple, seconded by Councillor Marston. Councillor Temple.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very, very good report, which brings us up to date on quite a few things relating to 4-level crossings that we have in our municipality. And the most contentious one is the closure of Champion Road in Newport. What's interesting about this report is if you look at under the background, the dates of 15th of November 2022, that's when we called for an urgent meeting with the LXRP. And then if you look further down, you see that they've taken a year and 6 days to come and address us, which is very, very disappointing and I'd say somewhat contemptuous of us. After all, it is our road that they're closing, not the government's. Or they intend to close. And when we did have that meeting with the LXRP, they made it clear that it was operationally impossible to relocate the pipelines. But you'll also see in our report that we have met with Mobil and Viva Energy. They are owners of a number of pipelines there. They said 2 things that stuck out. One was they've had very, very scant discussion with the LXRP. So the LXRP is going along with its planning without talking to the pipeline operators. The other thing that they did say was that it is possible to relocate the pipelines, and even the avgas one, which is the aviation gas that goes to the airport, that could be temporarily closed down with minimal disruption to the supply of aviation gas to the airport. So I guess what I take out of those conversations is that if the LXRP got out of their tunnel vision, they can look at some alternatives. And that's what we're partially asking for. There are possibilities or our first position is to keep Champion Road open. But if it is to be closed, and they're saying is because the ramp, it'll be basically a sky rail for a certain portion, and then it will fall down towards the bend that goes around to the Newport station, and that precludes any opening of Champion Road. However, there could be other things that happen, like an extension of Chalice Street circulating through the top end of Champion Road, and that is feasibly possible if they put their mind to it. So one thing that the community interest group has been saying is they want this particular crossing to be pushed back. They could move on the Maidstone Street crossing and do this one at Champion Road properly. They're planning to divert traffic through an extended Acuna Drive to Maddocks Road. Poses a lot of safety questions, and some of those are picked up here in this report. my private contractors provide scaffolding to most of the building sites in the city. They operate on that particular street, at the end of that street as it currently is, and they've got huge trucks carrying very heavy equipment. It's also very difficult because there's the kids play operation just on the corner of Akuna Drive and Champion Road. So there are currently plenty of safety issues there already without putting 4,000 cars down there. I guess the other point is that what this report picks up is Maddox Road is already pretty overloaded, or will soon be at capacity. And I guess the other thing that the government needs to look at is if they want to put that road through, it's not just a case of the cost of building the road, it's the $40 million that they'll have to pay out the developer who has current plans to develop that into a warehousing facility. So it's a very good report here, Mr. Mayor, and I note that the hard-working people of our community interest group, particularly Champion Road, they've done a lot of work. Some of those members are members of the Keep Champion Road Open group, and that particular group has done an amazing amount of work to put forward the community's views, which aligns with our council's views, to put pressure on the government to come to some proper thinking. And as Councillor Sutton ago said just a moment ago, I read that report, I think in The Age, about some of the level crossing removals are under a threat, and it makes a lot of sense to put this one in the back burner for a while. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Councillor Marston, I'll come to you as the seconder of the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to comment on the Hudson Road situation, which is mentioned in the agenda, and because of the difference in timing, the Hudson Road CIG is less advanced in developing a specific principles list. But at the meeting I chaired the other day, we got a long way towards developing such a list, which will be released at a future council meeting. My colleague, Councillor Sutton Legault, is the standing chair of that community interest group, and was at the previous meeting in November, I believe it was, in late last year, and can comment on the group's discussion at that point. But they're well advanced and very invested in not only making for a really high quality outcome that is of the right scale for any future level crossing removal, but also to integrate it closely with the Better Places Spotswood South Kingsville initiatives, and are looking for a future meeting to bring those closer together. On the question of the Champion Road, Maddox Road level crossing removals, I welcome the work that the group has done, chaired by Councillor Hemphill, and in particular the opportunities for local infrastructure improvements. I just wanted to note that the railway line, north of the railway line, which is slated here, or at least the residents have called for an extension of the bike path, which would then go past the railway, the miniature railway in Blenheim, further west, as Councillor Callender pointed out before, past the soccer club and then on to High Point, would make for a really, really good connection. So you could effectively get from the southeast of the city to Millers Junction without crossing any of the major roads, and similarly to get from Mason Street down to that road and underneath the overpass near the refinery to be able to get to Millers Junction without risking your life. That's potential benefit, but like my colleagues, I hope and pray that the level crossing won't go ahead in its current form. and I'm glad to have the support of the local MP, Melissa Horn, in trying to stop the level crossing from being removed.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers? Councillor Callender, and then I'll come to you, Councillor Grimmer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this quick. I just wanted to acknowledge all the hard work of our community members, in particular the members of the Keep Champion Road Open community group. I think they've done an amazing job at keeping momentum up over the past year in support of keeping this road open. I also want to commend Councillor Hempel in this case. I think he's been rather modest in commending Keep Champion Road Open Group, but not acknowledging all the hard work and effort that he's also put into advocating consistently, supporting our community to keep this road open. And you could hear the passion that he has, knowing all the detail and the hard work that he's put in day to day, advocating and supporting our community. And getting that detail as well with the engineering and the planning assessments and whatnot. And I think that needs to be acknowledged. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Callender. Councillor Grimmer.
Thank you, Mayor Tyler. I'd also like to echo what my councillor colleague has said, and also the committee, the group. They've, as deputy, I've been actively involved with former Mayor Hempel and former Mayor Briffa, and just the dedication. And I understand this issue was not brought to anyone's attention, no mail drop off, no social media, nothing, and it was unexpected. But the group has shown grace. They've actually been committed. They rock up, and I recognise it's going to take off your work life, it's going to take your family life, it's going to take your time, but your dedication, it has just proven we're talking about it. We're actually, meeting briefings. We've got a committee with council colleagues on it. This is something very unexpected, and I had something similar happen to us in our great community of the wetlands, but it was the persistent of just rocking up, just trying to voice your opinion. But what I commend is also, so far I've actually seen grace and just done it gracefully and respectfully, and just hard work ethic, because it's all about the results and the community and not nonsense, which is fantastic. Just stick to the results. And also you're in a very unique position that you've got an MP, because I wasn't in this situation. We had a similar situation in the wetlands. We didn't have an MP supporting this. So you're in a unique situation, and I hope that there's listening, that you've got MP Melissa Horn, who's also actively involved in this. So you're fortunate in that way. So and you've got us. So wholeheartedly endorse this, and I hope for the for the right of the community, for safety and other reasons, and for businesses, that you carry on. And I know it's going to be tough. I've been through this, but you can get there, and I endorse this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grimmer. Councillor Sadler.
Thank you to all my colleagues. And yes, I support all the hard work that's been put into this by everybody. I think the point that it took so long for us to get a meeting with the level cross removal group, it just underpins the need for real community consultation on these types of projects. This is supposed to be, the reason for removing these level crossings is supposed to be about safety. And if the community has concerns, then the sooner that we engage with community right across the project, the better. And I think, unfortunately, that hasn't happened on this occasion. And so that has required the community to gather together and to really make their feelings known, whilst they're not really being listened to very much. So I do hope that there is a decision regarding this made relatively quickly. It's not something that you want to drag on for the next few years. We want to keep the road open, and we'd like to get that commitment as soon as we can, so that people can get on with their lives and not, as Councillor Grimmer says, spend their time and their lives working on this project. It takes a lot of energy on everybody's part. So I hope the road is is we do have a commitment to keep the road open, and that we can find a solution that means that we can move forward effectively, and that the communication between the various groups is much quicker and much more transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton-Legault. Are there any other speakers to the motion? Councillor Hempel, I'll come back to you to close debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm reflecting on the comments by my colleagues. Also want to acknowledge the hard work that our local MP, Melissa Horn, has done. She has been particularly good in getting Keep Champion Road Open Group, getting audiences with people that have a lot of, or should have a lot of say in what happens. In fact, I think they even had 3 meetings of the LXRP before we did. I think the other point is that they managed to get Jacinta Allen, when she was the infrastructure minister, I forget her actual title, just prior to her becoming premier. The president of that group, Jill Gannon, did a bit of a tour around with the minister, and she reported back to the CIG about that meeting, and thought that there was a sympathetic view there about the impact on the local roads, the businesses, the schools, all those safety issues. So we're hoping that we can still have a conversation with the Premier, and but we're hoping also that they can push this back, because it won't be an easy one to resolve. There are lots of issues to sort out from the LXRP's point of view, from an engineering perspective and a community perspective as well. So hopefully we'll continue to work closely with the Keep Champion Road Open Group. They've been very effective in keeping the LXRP honest, and we hope that we can also deal with the government, the upper echelons of the government, in trying to get a very good result for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Councillor, the next item is 9.2.2 Westgate Tunnel Project Update, February 2024. Are there any questions? I'm seeking a mover.
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Beverin, a seconder. Councillor seeking a seconder, or the motion will lapse.
Happy to second.
Councillor Hempel to second. I'll pass to you, Councillor Beverin.
Thank you. This is a routine report. I'm just providing us with an update of the state government's project, being the Westgate Tunnel project. Wow, what an incredible few months it's been, with the community really suffering with a lot of those roadworks. Good to see some progress on it though, and I understand a few lanes have opened in the last few days. And I very much look forward to this project being finished November next year. I do want to give a shout out to the Westgate Tunnel project team. During over the summer, there was significant disruptions. There was a lot of traffic, unfortunately, being diverted and going through Brooklyn. And I'm very pleased, fair to say surprised as well, but very pleased that when I contacted the Westgate Tunnel project group team, they responded very, very quickly and put the necessary steps in place to manage that traffic issue that was just causing absolute bedlam in in Brooklyn. So I'd like to thank the Westgate Tunnel team for that response and for acting so quickly to help the local community. Again, so I just recommend that people read this, visit their website, and keep up to date with changes. I know a number of councillors have gotten lost, not knowing which lane to be in to get off at a certain area. I know I was in the wrong lane and ended up having to exit at Millers Road when I meant to go further. It is a challenging time. I look forward to this thing being over, and I'll continue to say it. I wish they extended this project to Grieve Parade. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. Councillor Hempel.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I guess having travelled westwards from here quite a bit in the last couple of months, it never ceased to amaze me, one of the confusion of the lane changes. You almost need to be a road scholar to understand what was happening. But it seemed like every second day there was a different change. It was very confusing for motorists, and particularly if they're planning to go out on the M80 or out on the M1. They were just flipping backwards and forwards, and of course, if you were coming at one point for a long time, if you were coming from the M80 and trying to get on the Westgate, the traffic was built up right back to Boundary Road, so probably 3 or 4 kilometres, because they merged 2 lanes into one. Fortunately, it seems like they have improved the traffic flow somewhat since then. So, but I look forward to when they finish the project.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Are there any speakers against the motion? Any other speakers? Councillor Briff, I'll come to you to close the debate.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say thanks again to the team for responding so quickly. I am hoping that the road work, most of that has been done, and it's going to not have as many impacts for us over the coming year and a bit, while they sort out the tunnel and the infrastructure and all that for that. So thanks to the team for responding so quickly. Thanks for the community for being so patient during this state government's project, and roll on November 25. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Briffa. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried unanimously. Next item is 9.2.3, Contract 2023-48, Arboriculture Panel. I've been building up to pronouncing that word all day. I'll give myself a 3 out of 10. Councillors, are there any questions? I'm seeking a mover. Moved by Councillor Marston.
I'll second the Arboriculture.
And I'll go seconded by Councillor Sutton-Legger. Councillor Marston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a timely and very important contract to award to an arboriculture panel to the following panel of suppliers for an estimated value of 3.4 million, excluding GST, for an initial term of 3 years with an option of 2 times 1 year extensions. And the panel will consist of, should this motion pass, Citywide Services, Fleming's Landscapes, Sevron Environmental Contractors and Urban Treescapes. I've gone through the minutes of the tender board, the tender board review and evaluation of the various tenders, and it's essentially redefining the role of parks as managers of the process of sourcing, planting and maintaining trees to allow park staff to better manage supply performance and ensure that urban forest strategy goals are met. This is our key strategic document for increasing the urban canopy to 30% by 2040 and entails a pretty ambitious, in fact a vast planting schedule. But these trees, as we've seen in recent days, need to be cared for, watered, weeded, feeded and fed and replanted when the inevitable die-off occurs, particularly in really severe heat conditions. So having a panel to be able to draw on will give redundancy, I think, to the effort, where we need to source high-quality trees that are rated under the Australian standards. The more panel suppliers, the more diverse the tree quality, even though they must meet a minimum standard under the Australian standards. But it also means that there'll be the ability to provide each of those contractors with council source trees as well. So I think having a multiplicity of available tree sources just should give the community confidence, the council confidence, that we can deliver on our promises and that we can care for the tree stock that we do plant. We adopted the Urban Forest Strategy in September 2020 and we've already had 3 really good years of planting. We'll be commencing the 2024 planting season shortly. We originally aimed for a planting of 40,000 advanced trees within the first 5 years, with 4,000 annual tree plantings thereafter. So this panel of arboriculturalists is intended to make good on that promise.
Thank you, Councillor Marsden. Councillor Sutton, the go.
Thank you. I won't repeat what my colleague has said. Just to say that during the market engagement, we had 9 suppliers view the tender and 7 submissions were received, and we now have come down to 4 organisations that will be part of the panel. It's good to see a transparent process for what is a very important long-term project. And I think we can all see the benefit of the tree canopy increasing, particularly with the inclusion of native trees wherever possible. It's making an enormous difference to the whole look, feel and facility of Hobsons Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Are there any speakers against the motion? And any other speakers? Councillor Marsden, I'll come to you to close debate.
Thank you. As I said before, it's one thing to set a target of, and such an ambitious target of, increasing our tree canopy, but you really have to back it up with solid professional teams to deliver year on year a reliable and robust product in the way of trees that meet the Australian standards but are also hardy enough to survive these heat waves, and in the case that the weather does turn dry or the climate becomes dry, as it has in previous years, then we can keep these trees alive until they reach a point where they can sustain themselves. This is a vital project to the future of the municipality with increasing heat, and we know that this is one of the few ways that we can spend our ratepayer money in such a way as to improve the health of residents. It's a key part of the provision of a tree canopy. People will go out on a hot day if they can be in the shade. They'll go out on a hot day if they can walk in the shade. And any movement mitigates the effect of chronic disease, allows people to leave their house to socialise, and has a very significant effect on community morale and well-being. It also, of course, absorbs carbon dioxide, releases oxygen, filters pollutants, improving air quality, another challenge we have, regulates the temperature, reducing the urban heat island effect, helping to moderate temperatures in urban areas, and provides habitat for bird, insects and other wildlife, which increases urban biodiversity. So there's every reason to do it, and this provision of this sum of money makes it possible to make good on our promise and plant well into the future so that our grandchildren and great-grandchildren can enjoy shade.
Thank you, Councillor Marston. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously. Just a reminder for people in the public gallery, if you want to submit a question as part of supplementary question time, now's the time to do that. We're nearing the end of the meeting. The next item is 10.1, Notice of Motion number 1249, condolence for the late Bill Summers. Councillor seeking a mover.
Happy to move.
Moved by Councillor Hempel
I'm happy to second.
and seconded by Councillor Briffa. Councillor Hempel.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I think I might just start and hope that we could amend the motion, the notice of motion 1249, condolence the late Bill Summers, OAM, because he was awarded an OAM. I have known Bill for some 25 years and worked with him on this council. Bill Summers was an independent councillor who joined the Altona City Council after leading a campaign against the state government, which the government at the time was trying to compulsorily acquire about 120 homes in Altona North to make way for the Westgate Freeway. That road is Paringa Road, and some councillors here, maybe before some of your time, but the current Westgate Tunnel Authority wanted to take what was left of Paringa Road until we objected. Paringa Road being the last little road just south of the freeway entrance going westwards, and it's a very key road for the shops that are north of the Altona Gate Shopping Centre. So he'd be rolling in his grave now if they did manage to secure that road. Bill led a campaign along with a few others to convince the government to give them a better price for their properties. So while he lost his property, the 120 odd people, owners of that land, did manage to get a fair return for their investment. That campaign led him to be, or led the community to convince him to run for council. He served 25 years on the Altona Council, including 3 times as mayor. That was right up until the Kennett government forced amalgamations. When Hobsons Bay Council was formed, and it was about 2 years later, it was formed in 1994, and in 1996 the council was one of the first ones in the state to hold elections, and Bill Summers put up his hand and got elected again. He served with another prominent independent councillor, Dick Murdoch, at that time. I joined them in the second term, being 1999, and Bill served 1 term at the same time as me. He did not seek re-election in 2002. It was an interesting time when former councillor Angela Alter and myself joined the council with Bill and Dick. There were 4 independents and 4 Labor, and that was quite an interesting time. You'll have to read about that in my book, Mr. Mayor. But I probably think that Bill saw me as a young Turk coming onto the council. I think we did things that he never thought were possible in politically at the time. I'm still a young Turk, by the way. We had great respect for each other. It was very mutual. We both wanted the best for our community, and I'm not saying the other councillors didn't, but Bill was very passionate about his community. My wife Yako and I visited Bill and his wife Kath at their house once or twice in Bowen Heads since he left the council. I last saw him when he was invited to a function at the Altona Sport and Game Fishing Club, and I think that was about 2 years ago. Bill was always passionate, as I said, about his community. I went to his funeral probably a couple of weeks ago now, and his two sons, Tony and Michael, and daughter Julie, spoke very lovingly of Bill's support to them and helping them achieve what they wanted to do, but also they painted a picture, a very true and accurate picture of what he did for his community. So condolences go to Kath, Tony, Michael and Julie and the respective families. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. Councillor Farr.
Thank you, and I am very happy for the motion to be revised to recognise that he is an OAM, and I think it is important that we say that. And in fact, maybe we should use his official name, his legal name, William Bill Henry Summers, OAM JP as well. So he's a Justice of the Peace. You're doing some research about Bill. I see how passionate he was about our environment, and even was happy to take on the Melbourne Metropolitan Board of Works and the EPA when it came to the discharge of waste into the bay off Altona, and good on him. And they're the sort of councillors that we had for the city of Altona. Awesome, wonderful, community-minded, independent, accessible community leaders. As a community member, I was very proud of him and all the other City of Altona councillors that we had. He was awarded an OAM in the Queen's Birthday Honours in 2004, so a few years after leaving council. And the honour was for, and I'll just read it, for service to local government and to the community of Altona. And I can't think of a better wording, to the community of Altona, and very appropriate. As I said, he was a Justice of the Peace. He was a Justice of the Peace for many decades, continued to serve as a Justice of the Peace when he moved to Ocean Grove, when he left Hobsons Bay, and sadly he passed away last month at the age of 87. My sincerest condolences to his family, to his wife Kath, to his children Tony, Michael, Julie and their partners, and also the grandchildren Dylan, Morgan, Ryan, Kellen, Kate, Cooper and Campbell. Thank you very much for your service. Bill, thanks. Cheers.
Thank you, Councillor Prefer. I just want to make sure that the motion on screen and that we'll vote on is correct. And so do you want to just repeat the full name?
Sorry. Yeah, if we can have the name as William, and put Bill in brackets. So William brackets Bill. And Bill close brackets. Next name is Henry Summers. Yep, OAM. JP after OAM. Thank you. If that's okay with
I'll just check that with Councillor.
Just the space.
That look okay to you?
I'm happy with that. I wasn't aware of him being a JP, and I noticed that his funeral only has OAM on it. So.
Are there any other councillors that would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Hempel, I'll come back to you to close.
I think Councillor Briffer and myself have given quite a good overview of Bill's career, particularly how it related to the city of Altona and the city of Hobsons Bay and the community. But note also what Councillor Briffa said, that his OAM was for council services and to services to the community. And when you look at it, 31 years on 2 different councils is a pretty amazing record of service.
Thank you, Councillor Hempel. With that, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Motion is carried unanimously, and echoing both Councillor Hempel and Councillor Briffa, send our condolences to Bill's family, and may he rest in peace.
Yeah.
Councillors, are there any urgent items of business to be raised? That brings us to supplementary public question time, and I think we do have one question, Mr. CEO. So we do have one public question in this supplementary public question time, and I will just give folks a sense as to the purpose of this. So, supplementary public question time provides an opportunity to ask questions directly related to items on the agenda that have arisen during this evening's proceedings. Where it is not possible to provide a response during the meeting, a written response to the question will be provided promptly. Written public questions received during this council meeting that are not related to items on the agenda will be taken on notice and responded to in writing by the appropriate council officer, or referred to the next council meeting for a public response, if requested by the questioner. The question was submitted by Craig Wilson. Hi, Craig. And the question reads, in relation to the public question raised by Kia in regard to any allocated budget or feasibility study by the council, has any funds been allocated to support a high school in Altona Meadows? And the council officer's response reads, no, only officer time associated with advocacy. Councillors, the next item on the agenda is 13.1, Chief Executive's Officer Performance Appraisal 22-23. The item is to be heard in camera. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Do I second it? Councillor Hempel, Councillor Sutton go to second. I'll put the motion to the vote. Motion is carried unanimously. For folks in the public gallery, that concludes the public part of tonight's meeting. We'll hear this final item subsequent to people leaving the chamber. And for those online as well, thank you for joining us this evening.